Hi, good evening everyone. My name is Anjana Shankar and today we have a very special guest at Khaleej Times, Honorable Minister Mr. Goutham Reddy. He's the Minister for Industries, Infrastructure, Investment, Commerce, IT and Skill Development for the state of Andhra Pradesh, India. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
To start with, Andhra Pradesh has already kick-started the 2 weeks of the Andhra state promotions at Expo 2020 at India Pavilion. Can you tell us what are the key areas that you're looking at in terms of promoting the state?
Well, let me start off with this. I think, ever since, our Chief Minister took over the state, that was, the new government came in 2000, mid of 2019, it converged with the pandemic in 2020. So if you really see, for 18 months, we lost out towards the pandemic. And so this has actually been what we're looking for in this expo, is that actually we came here more to learn and to understand what is exactly happening in the international markets, apart from showing our what we are looking for internally. One is in post-pandemic, there's been a lot of the business rules have been rewritten. The typical what used to happen in the previous, the business was happening, it has changed now. So we're trying to understand how the world is evolving itself, and I thought no better place than to see in Expo and see what exactly the international markets are reacting and how they're, positioning themselves for the future. Also, at the same time, Andhra Pradesh is relatively, it's been 7 years since the division of the state. If you really look at it, ours has been 85% of the state is still, we believe we get 85% is agrarian society. I mean, it is GDP's contribution is 85%. 15% is only the industrial production. So we are looking at a massive development of industrialization investments coming in. So we are looking at like pharmaceuticals, petrochemical corridors. We are also looking at artificial intelligence, the new industries. We have earmarked 9 sunrise industries where we think the state should be looking to adapt itself and also investing in those technologies in the coming days.
Yeah. I know that there's a huge push for a rapid industrialization in the state, but I'll come to that later. But before that, can you tell me what is the USP of Andhra Pradesh? Because we've had various states promoting, and attracting investments. There are 190 plus countries doing the same at Expo. So what are the USPs of Andhra Pradesh?
I think our motto says it all, where abundance meets prosperity. So I think the state of Andhra Pradesh is blessed one way. We have second largest coastline in India after Gujarat. And the other point is also, as I was just mentioning, there's a huge gap in terms of industrialization that is there in the state. Apart from this, we have huge resources, natural materials, whether it's minerals, whether it is natural minerals. In fact, if you look at our oil and gas exploration, we have some of the biggest deep water wells off our coast. Of course, that comes to the central government subject. But having said this, apart from this, its most important factor are the people. I think the Andhra Pradesh people, they have this entrepreneur's drills. And if you look at it, whether in infrastructure or pharmaceuticals, big industries, the industry leaders come from the state of Andhra Pradesh. So I think our entrepreneur's drills, along with our, one is our, you can call adventurism. We like to go out to the new markets and then try to see that, we grow in those markets. And that is one of the reasons, and we're very pro-business and very friendly business as a state. So development is that much more going to be easier in this state than any other part of the world.
Okay, fantastic. And, I'm quite tempted to ask this question. Recently, your Chief Minister had hinted about changing the capital from Amravati to Visakhapatnam. How do you see that could impact all of these goals that you spoke about?
Well, actually, this is nothing to do with, it's not changing the capital per se. We've learned lessons after the post-division of the state, when it was united state of our, Telangana, and it was divided, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. There is a very old, the old Andhra Pradesh was mix of between Telangana, the Sarkar, and the north, the north coastal region. These were all Telugu-speaking states, but they're governed by different entities. Like, for example, Telangana was historically by the Nizams, and this was by the English. So when they came together, the Telugu states, there was a pact called Sri Bag Pact, where they said that all the regions should have equal development. And by way of creating equal development, they said, let's create capital, each capital where, each one is, specified or specializes in each one of the subjects. Like, for example, we said economic capital is going to be Visakhapatnam. The judicial capital is going to be the Kurnool. And of course, the legislative capital is going to be Vijayawada. So the idea is, today, rather than centralizing everything, we wanted to disperse the development all across the state. And we're following the old Sribag back to 1910 that was formed out. So that is where this all comes from.
Okay, so I understand it is all aligning with the inclusive development, which is one of the key focuses in the state. So could you elaborate a little bit on what are the steps being taken to have
see, I think this all came from our Chief Minister's Padyatra when he undertook the Padyatra. Almost 3,700 kilometers. It amounts close to about 11 months he had done this Padyatra. In that Padyatra, he actually saw face to face the problems being faced by the common people. I'll give a very simple example. He saw industries coming into the state, but there was no employment happening to the people. Farmers lost their lands, but the children were not getting the jobs. So he saw this, this anomaly that was there, and he felt that there has to be some correction taking place. So before that, he also said, how do I position myself in a global, in this global arena, when the globalization is taking place? How do I position my people to take on competition, vis-a-vis the rest of the world? The first thing he said that, majority of the people in Andhra Pradesh come from Telugu medium schools who have no clue about English. Okay. They have the knowledge, they have the intelligence, but lack of communicative skills in the interview they fail and they are second graded. So he said, let me take away this and create opportunities. See, if you see historically, India, because of lack of opportunities, people have migrated out from that place. Given the opportunities, we have the wherewithal, we have the intelligence, and we have the fire in our belly to do something wonderful to our states. So that is what I think he has realized it and said, in my first phase, let's look at internal development. Let's focus on developing the children. I'm talking about he's gone to that level of taking, cognitive skills. He says, unless I feed a child with the right minerals, the right, food, will he not develop mentally? So let me start from this. So he's actually thinking for the future. And at the same time, he also has said that education is going to be his primary sector. Healthcare is another primary sector, where he's looked at. And farmers, because farmers happen to be 85% of the agrarian society. He said, if I take care of them first right now, there's a cycle I tend to take care of them and at least give them the initial advantage that they require in terms of all this, and then we progress it to the next level of development. He said there is no use of me getting an industry and the people are losing the land and they don't get the jobs. What happens? It's a perfect formula for a revolution.
But you spoke about people having fire in the bellies and all the right skills in states, and I'm sure it's true for all the people here, especially 2.5 million, more than 2.5 million Indian migrants successful across the field in the UAE. But you spoke about giving them opportunities to have education in English so that they are not left out of the job market. But skill development is also one of your portfolios. So I think it's not just education. I think it's beyond primary level or school education.
See, we found a very glaring problem over there. We saw a lot of youth being educated, but they were not industry ready. Yeah. So we said, how do we compare this gap and how do we close this gap out? Is that today people are educating themselves just for the sake of education, but not understanding what it is. So we've actually revisited the curriculum at the educational institutions and we're reworking them there. At the same time, we have said skilling is to be part and parcel of the old curriculum. So right from the, I'm talking about your kindergarten till up to your graduation, we have created a curriculum for skilling whereby the students at each age gets graded according to that. So we are taking the National Skill Development Corporation skilling levels and we are creating skills right from 0 to 10. I'm talking about right from a hobby to being a specialist. So across the board, across the whole paradigm, he gets access to, let's say, a person would come into, let's say, stage 1. He could come out be a specialist in the end of the day. So skilling is going to be one of the biggest advantages that we can create. And why we are creating is because we have got, as you said, we have got a very young population coming out. And you have the rest of the world graying. We are creating workforce, not only for India, but also for the world. So the idea is that, if I have to have youth going to be competing at global levels, I make sure that he's going to be a global player and stands shoulder to shoulder to the best of the best. So that's why we are investing a lot more in skilling so that the person has the best access to technologies, knowledge base, and also practicalities.
So talking about skill development, it is a parallel process
It is.
because you are initiating rapid industrialization.
True.
So could you talk a little bit more about that? You know, how is this? What are the steps being taken to ensure that this that the pace is being?
It's a very good question you asked me, because I think never in the history, I do not know, the entire gamut of development and investments has come under one portfolio, under one ministry. I'm talking about right from investments and infrastructure.
It's a vast portfolio, yes.
Yeah, it's a vast portfolio. So the idea was the chief minister had this, that let's bring convergence. Let's not make sure cylindricals. So an investor who could walk in Andhra Pradesh, and he walks out with not only setting up his industry, but I also give him access to provide a pipeline of skilled man workforce. So that, what happens is that, and we are doing it at our level. And what we've done is that we've done a mapping initially, saying that exactly where do we stand in terms of our skillings and what we need to do. So the gap, whatever the gaps that are there, we found out, not only for the existing industries, but future investment industries. They
Like
also were
artificial
training
intelligence and
all those
spoke
things.
about, yeah.
So apart from that, we're creating 30 special skill colleges which are going to cater to the next level of the 9 technologies that we're talking about. IoTs, machine learnings, data banking. So this is all going to be coming in this next level of manufacturing levels. Also, we've said IT, if you look at it, post-division, we lost out a big IT chunk contribution to Hyderabad because IT, as you know, it is a very urban setting. So we do not have an urban setting, and we do not have a cosmopolitan city like Hyderabad. But then we said we also saw an opportunity in post-COVID where people said that work from home became a big concept.
Okay.
And now we have actually developed a model whereby going forward, even Government of India is looking towards us to see that how can I move IT jobs to tier 2 and tier 3 towns by creating access. So what we've done is 3 simple things. We've made sure that bandwidth is available to all in each and every nook and corner of our state. We've created facilities for people to come together and work in a conferencing facilities. Third most important, we've given them free access to internet.
Okay.
So people can be working out of their village, but you could actually be reporting in Dallas. So that is the thing we have done. So, and it's right now in its initial stages. But going forward, if you really see, as you see, IT jobs are, they themselves are adapting to the new technologies. And not only that, some of the jobs are becoming redundant because of the high cost of, in the metro cities. So people naturally would like to work in the 2nd tier and 3rd tier city where the cost of living has come down. And also the companies, their cost will come down.
Come down, yeah.
Because they don't need to be paying that much more. So the cost will come down and also make sure they're more competitive in the world.
True, working from home concept has kind of revolutionized, especially the IT industries. We have people coming from different parts of the world, as you said. They can be based anywhere.
True.
Like in a state like Andhra Pradesh and work for, maybe a company in the UAE
well,
or
not many states are very happy about it because I'm not, interesting fact is every 4th person working in IT sector comes from Andhra Pradesh. So it's like they coming back to the state. So I'm not.
So it's also a reverse brain
It's a
drain
reverse
for
brain drain for
yes.
Andhra Pradesh. So that is the advantage that we're having today. Because one, they want to be closer to their villages or to their, to their parents or home, and it becomes it's a double edge for us.
Yeah, fantastic. But that takes me to the next question of innovation, because you've said innovation in governance, innovation in has to go hand in hand with the development agenda. So how are you tackling that, and what are the steps being taken?
There's been very interestingly, our chief minister has never invented anything new. He actually went back to the old what Mr. Gandhi said. Gandhi said, India lies in its villages. The governance is at its villages. The actual constitution is that we've taken the constitution and we've taken governance to the doorstep of each village. How we have done this is that we have created a village secretariat system, whereby a common citizen has access to all the facilities, all the is accorded, all the rights accorded, right from land registration, birth registrations, including the farmers buying of the seeds. So we have created the village secretariat system at each village level. So the farmer or the common individual need not go to a mandal office or to a mandal, the taluka office or district office. So it is happening at his doorstep. And all the issues, whatever the subsidies and welfare that is being meted out, is delivered to his doorstep. So, for example, a farmer could be sitting in his Raitu Bharosa center and he can actually know the price of what is happening around in the market. Apart from that, we're also delivering all this, like for example, right from seedlings to agriculture, pesticides, or for that matter, urea, it goes directly to that RBK center. So the idea is that, he did not have to go around anywhere. So more time is spent on him actually doing his work than actually going around this. So that is a new governance that we brought in. We've actually taken the governance to his doorstep. And second most important thing also what we've done is that devolution of powers have taken place. So what has happened is that today there is more at-ground constitution, powers have been imparted than it was more in a syndical kind of a thing. So it's more at a grassroots levels is what is the governance is happening.
Okay, but my question is about also how do you promote the spirit of innovation among the youth,
Yes.
and how are you leveraging your strong IT sector to promote innovation?
Like for example, today what we've just discussed, all of this is networked.
Okay.
So a person, village secretary is sitting, he has a smart device and he goes to the house and then he actually tells him, records in everything. And right from land survey system. So today we are actually getting a huge surveys being undertaken by, drone technologies and also the satellite imaging to help out the revenues, to also understand the crop growing patterns, to understand the weather patterns. Also, we are also taking IoT, for example, today in industry levels. We are also putting at IoT at emission levels. So we're seeing that if any factory is going beyond its warranted emissions, we're shutting it off. So these are all IoT kind of a system that we're bringing in. And as I said, for us to evolve ourselves, the government of Andhra Pradesh itself is going to become the biggest innovative hub. We are going to be proposing and promoting technologies, the new technologies within the government so that the market will pick it up.
Okay, great. I can't let you go off the hook without a question about sustainability,
Sure.
because with the India's goal about reducing carbon emissions, by almost 1 billion ton, I understand, by 2030. So where are you heading to in terms of reducing carbon emissions, and how do you bring in sustainability into your development goals?
So if you look at it by default, because of not much industrialization taking place in the state,
Okay.
our water quality or air quality is much better than average Indian air quality.
Okay.
But sustenance is something we need to have it. Development goes, we also need to bring in sustenance. So we are following what the World Economic Forum has proposed, that the ESG norms.
Yeah.
So what we are saying is that for sustaining, we're bringing in new technologies. So we want to bring in the next level of next 100 years of new evolution technologies, than look at the sunset industries, the polluting industries. We don't mind bringing in industries, but if they have evolved them. So like for example, this morning I was speaking to one of these industrialists here. He has a battery disposable unit. Now, he has a battery in Dubai, but he also has services who come and take up all the chemicals, the content, the harmful chemicals, process it, and make sure that no emissions are, it's well within the norms. So the idea is there's always a solution to any of these problems. So we want to invest in the new technologies where we bring the emissions down and make sure we are more adaptable to the society in the coming days.
So coming to my last question, with all the USPs that you spoke about, the right infrastructure is to do business and all the governmental measures you are taking, what are the synergies that you see with the UAE in terms of attracting investments and partnerships?
See, I think UAE as such, we need to learn a lot from UAE, and I think it's a fantastic platform for us to learn from and duplicate the same model in Andhra Pradesh. So the idea is that historically UAE and India are connected at its waist. And we don't see much. In fact, somebody asked me which is a national airline. I say it's Emirates. for India, we could get it. So for us, so the thing is that there's no differentiation I see between UAE and India, but I see a lot of synergies taking place because it is one of the first countries which opened up its borders to the Indians and the subcontinent, and there's a very thriving population, very successful population. So the model of governance has been to very inclusive kind of a growth. So this is the kind of growth that we're looking forward to in Andhra Pradesh and emulate those same programs. But also at the same time, I would like to say that, there's been synergy in terms of historical trade. There has been a lot of food grains that are coming out of Andhra Pradesh, which we can, between UAE, and there's a Food Security Act, which is UAE and Government of India has enacted.
Yes.
So these are all things where we can take an active participation in that. And apart from it, and typically today UAE, the Dubai, it's always looking for new businesses and things. And I think what better partner than Andhra Pradesh, where both of us have the same synergies.